Can we talk about that diagnosis then?
Mm.
Can you take us back to that point and how you found that diagnosis process? So to what was it that led you to going down that path, and
Yeah.
how was it, I suppose, getting that
Yeah.
diagnosis?
Well, for people that have been kind of like on this journey, you start to see like patterns of behaviour and some really bizarre things that happen. So we first started thinking that there was something with Nikki's memory on about 2019-20, just cognitive stuff, just forgetting that she was sort of like halfway through making a cup of tea because it's sequential steps, getting sort of like a bit unsure where she was driving in terms of sort of like driving past the street with the girls in the car, repeating herself with some of the questions. In terms of the whole diagnosis issue, we went to the GP. She was on a drug to stop estrogen growth for a 5-year period because she had breast cancer. She had a mastectomy in 2015, which stopped the cancer. So that was really good. And we thought that the medication might be causing some of the issues.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to see a doctor at Castle Hill, and she came off that drug. But things started going downhill. Then we had COVID, so you couldn't, getting into a doctor was like getting into Fort Knox. We changed IT systems at work. She was working from home, and she just couldn't do basic functions, sort of like download a Word document, set up a meeting invite, do work on spreadsheets. She'd sort of like she lost the sort of like confidence with any kind of piece of work. She just didn't want to get involved, and there was sort of like issues whereby she went to Primark 5 days on the trot when she should have been at work, because we were going on holiday, and she went to buy a dress, then she took it back the next day. Then she went back and bought the same dress, then she took it back, and then she went back and bought it again. And she got parking tickets for a small supermarket in Beverley because she'd been an hour and 3/4. And I know she was an hour and 3/4 because that's what the automatic number plate recognition came up with when all she was doing was buying croissants, and there was an hour time limit there. So we'd started to sort of like move very slowly with, she'd gone to a memory clinic, but they wouldn't let me in because they thought that that'd be a false kind of like picture of a memory, because she'd been, me being there it'd be difficult for her. And then I speak to her afterwards, and she just clammed up. We went through all the processes of CT scans and appointments, and we finally saw a consultant at a local hospital, and he felt that she had like a form of pseudo dementia caused by the stress, anxiety of having breast cancer and everything that she'd gone through. And that led us down a path of mental health teams, and Nikki's a really private person, really. She don't like talking about her life. And we were referred to a working age team. We were then referred to an older people's team because of how she presented when she did the cognitive kind of like assessments. She went to see a psychiatrist, and it was quite humiliating experience for her, really. And I got told at one point, I don't know what you're doing going down this route of trying to get an assessment for her having dementia. She's not got dementia; she's just depressed. But we lived it. We lived it day in, day out, and she was getting worse. And she went off sick from work. Work were really good for her to. I think they knew that there was something more serious behind, rather than it just being that she was stressed and anxious, and they kind of like kept her on employment wise whilst we kind of like waited in this never ending like queue for sort of like neurology at the hospital. we kind of like had to sort of like, we followed the advice from the consultant to sort of like get her reviewed and look at things like stress and anxiety. And eventually I went to a private hospital and I paid for a consultation because she was getting to the stage where her employment would potentially have to be considered by work. He looked at the scans, he did a cognitive assessment, and he told us that just based from that he had serious concerns that she had some form of Alzheimer's or dementia.